Uh, awesome. Welcome. Welcome. Ugh, dude. Oh, snap. Hacks. We're talking about hacks and two-factor authentication, things like that. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Cool. Goodbye. Take a breath. Ms. B says can't hear. I guess. Perhaps. Perhaps. Again.
Please hold on here. Hold on, I gotta do this already. Hello.
Hello, hello,
Hello.
hello.
Can you hear me now?
I have to apologize. Somebody did reach out to me about renting the ad space, and I did not respond in an appropriate amount of time because I forget to check my email. And when I did check my email,
There's always
Yeah.
next week.
yeah,
There'll always be next week.
whoever, I can't recall off the top of my head. Yeah, but I will get back to you. I apologize.
Don't worry, it'll happen. It'll happen. Sometimes you just gotta let it happen. All right, let me make sure. Let me get our video up here. Hold on here. All right, studio mode. Let's see, is that correct? And let's do transition. Oh my god, it worked. It worked on the first try, baby. Like always. Like always, it always works on the first try.
Hey.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Like the freaking horns at the vents. All right, so can you guys hear me now? What had happened was I've been having some
Put a 7 in the chat if you can hear us.
yeah, 7 in the chat if you can hear both of us. Yeah, no, I had a problem yesterday that required me to basically uninstall my entire audio stack and reinstall it, my graphics drivers. Went through and did a bunch of that, and then when I reinstalled it, of course, it changed the order of default audio devices. So now every single time I jump into a program or I change a profile in OBS Studio, it's like, oh, you gotta go back and select that. You better go back and select that, Mr. Man. So that's what I do. Here, let me punch in a little bit there. There we go. Look, get some of the Barnacules big face there. Look at that. Look at that. Now we both got big heads. I don't even know. Am I still in focus? Close enough. Close enough, my friends. All right, we got a lot of 7s, so I think we are good to go. All right, so I went ahead and tweeted out the stream so that people know that's going on, because Facebook no longer sends out notifications for me because I've had too many controversial titles for my live streams that contain trigger words.
How could you?
So now they only send out notifications to people that actually click on the bell and say, send me all notifications. Otherwise, nobody gets a notification. It's sad. It's actually sad, like what YouTube has become, but it's okay. We got to play ball, right? I mean, they are the home field advantage. So whatever they do, we got to just go along with it. It's fine. It's whatever. It's fine. For those of you just joining us today, we're letting everybody roll in before we get into the meat and potatoes of it. But we're going to talk today about like the rampant bot problem on YouTube. Like this is a big deal. This is something that YouTube is well aware of, that they're intentionally turning a blind eye to because of the money that it makes them from the ad revenue that comes in from basically defrauding their, ad companies that are running ads on the platform by just allowing these bots to like promote garbage videos to the top and just spam anything at them that'll get ads put on them, so that YouTube's like, oh, well, we're good because, our revenues go up. When we ban the bots, our revenues go down. So it's a really, really shitty situation. And what I'm doing today, the reason why the title is what it is because we're going to honeypot some bots today. You're probably going to notice more bots. Hopefully we have a mod on board today. Miss Liz, are you in chat? Because we are going to probably have a higher than average bot ratio coming into chat and just posting stuff like, is your Instagram account taken? Oh man, this guy helped me get it back over on Instagram. You're going to see a lot of those here on the platform during the show today. And also, once the video goes to basically syndication afterwards and gets archived as a video on YouTube, I fully expect it to get 1,000 comments a day. from bots just spamming how to get your Instagram back, how to get your Facebook back. These are all scams, by the way. All of them are scams. All I'm trying to do is waste their time, waste their bandwidth, and get a username list that I can then use in a script that'll happily go through and report them all to YouTube, and also ban them from my channel and add them to a mutual ban list that's used by a lot of other creators. So I'm basically just creating a fly trap, right? I took a big old stinky turd and smeared it on the edge of the desk, and I'm just waiting for all them flies to come over and nom, 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 and then we're going to put them in jail. So it should be fun. It should be a fun stream. But the thing that sucks is YouTube will not do anything about this because YouTube makes money from advertisements. The more views on a video that happen, the more engagement. Remember, a comment on a video is engagement, which boosts its SEO and gets it more views. So when these bots are spamming thousands, even the same message, I've seen some have as many as 20 of the same message in a row from 20 different accounts saying, oh my God, person above Instagram recovered my account with no problem. And it's the same message cut and pasted 20 times within 10 seconds from 20 different accounts. And that's what these bots do, is they just comb over YouTube blindly looking for any video that has anything about accounts being hacked with Instagram, Facebook, TikTok in the title. And then if it meets that criteria, the bot basically goes and watches the video and starts spamming the comments, trying to get the top comment so that people know where to go to give them money to get scammed. And you don't get your account back, by the way. None of these people are actual hackers. They get your account back. All they're going to do is bleed you for personal information that allows them to recover your account and take some money from you, and they're going to run with it and use it. So don't, it's, never negotiate with terrorists. Same thing here.
Yeah, I mean, for the real folk out there, I know it sucks, but really the best thing you can do is try to work with support.
Absolutely.
And like, it's gonna suck. It's gonna take a long time if you've somehow, somebody got into your email and then changed your account passwords or blah blah blah. Like, it's gonna take a long time to fix it. But yeah,
it's a painful process, man. Miss B said, if you do it as a joke, you will get banned. All right, so Miss Barnacules has said it right now. If you guys start joking and pretending to be bots in chat, she is going to ban you.
Well, hey,
and I am not in the unbanning mood. So if
goal of this fucking thing is to ban bots. So
we're literally banning bots. Yeah. So if you act like a bot, we're going to ban you. Like that's the crux of it.
Click through, etc. It's like me taking left. So why don't the advertisers put pressure on YouTube then if it's a bunch of bots and stuff? It's because the bots are still getting videos to rank higher, and even if the engagement is is technically fake, it is still putting those videos in front of more real eyeballs. So even if the ratio of like click through to like watch time or view or whatever doesn't come out, even though that ratio might not come out good, they can still tell from other data based on the advertisements that it's still worthwhile.
You know what I personally
it isn't always just a ratio of click through like impressions to click through or engagement to click through, that sort of a thing.
Sure. The truth of it is, though, the more I research this damn thing, is I don't think the advertisers know the full extent of what's going on here, honestly. Well, I really don't, because here's the thing. The bots are actually clicking through on the ads because that also boosts the SEO of the video, which gets it in front of more people that are going to read the top comment that says, oh, go get my Instagram video back. So I did an experiment. You guys can do this too. Open up an incognito window so that it doesn't use your personal preferences. Go to YouTube and type into the search bar something along the lines of my Instagram account got hacked, or how do I recover my hacked Instagram account, or how do I recover my Facebook account or my Twitter account. Type those things in. Look at the top ranked videos. Click on them and look at the top comments. Every single one of you click on them. The first page is going to be 90% comments from bots that are like, oh, this guy on Instagram got my account back. No problem. Highly recommend. Oh, man, I can't believe I lost my account, but this guy got it back. Here, you trying to get into your girlfriend's Instagram? This guy does it.
Yeah, that's a
you're
big one.
going to see that all over the place, spammed all over these videos. And the one thing you're going to notice is when you click on these channels, most of their videos only have like 100 or 200 views. And then the one video that shows them search is going to be 500,000 views plus. And if you look, it'll have like 40,000 comments. And of the 40,000 comments, 39,500 of them are bots. and that makes it the top video, because even under an incognito tab, you're like, why is this showing up as the top video and not somebody who did a video with 1 million views talking about this? Because they didn't get as much engagement. The bots artificially inflated that video. Now, you'd think the advertisers themselves would be pissed off about this and be like, oh man, we're losing money. But here's the thing. They get scammed because the bots themselves will watch the advertisement. Because in order for them to get through the video and get some retention and leave a comment to boost that video so their comment is more likely to be seen, these bots leave the comment, then camp on the video, watch the ad and watch the video, because then that gives them the most relevance. And it also gives their account a boost to the next video the bot goes to, so that it's seen as a more genuine user because it interacts with the videos, it watches the videos, and it watches the advertisements without skipping. So basically what they're doing is the advertisers are seeing this insane click-through rate, but 90% of it is bots that have no intention of ever buying the product. So it's also why you see a lot of ads on YouTube that like nobody would really be interested in, like some political thing or something like that. You'll start seeing that stuff pop up, and it'll be across all videos, even like genres that don't even make sense. And it's because they artificially boosted it to make it look like an ad that has an insanely high click-through, which means YouTube can charge more money to that advertiser, which means they have more of a incentive to put that ad on more videos, even if they don't meet the demographic requirement, because they're just having so much success with it, they throw it out there. So I think what's really happening here, and this is my personal opinion, I don't have all the data on it yet, but from what I've seen so far, what I believe is happening here is that the advertisers, just like Adpocalypse 1 and Adpocalypse 2, they're not aware of what's going on. They don't know what their ads are being put on. They don't understand why their ads are having this super high click-through without a huge, full click-through, like where they're buying the product, right? They're just thinking, man, these stats actually look good. And they don't know any better. Like, they're just getting fucking catfish just like the rest of us.
So, I mean, for what it's worth, click-through, even then, isn't that, for what I know of marketing and behind the scenes and stuff, anything over like 1 to 5% click-through is like fucking fantastic. Like, that's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
And then even then, if you can get better than like a 25% or hell, even 15% conversion from that,
that's insane.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
That's insane.
That's outrageously good. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. Like, that's why, because it's about volume.
Yeah.
Really. Especially for a big advertisers like Toyota or something, like, they don't give a fuck. Yeah. They're that ad is running in front of like 1 billion people. So if they get 0.5% of click through, whether it's fake or not, that's fine.
Yeah.
It really comes down to conversion. And if 90% of the click through is not going to convert, that's okay. All they need to make it worth is a handful of conversions. So,
and to be honest, these marketing companies aren't really paying attention to the conversions that much when they're running an ad on YouTube, because people click on it, look at it, and then come back later and buy something. That's actually a really common tactic. You go and look at it, you're like, oh, okay, I'm interested in that, and then you come back later and buy it. So the conversions aren't always really easy to track. So they'll usually just make an assumption. Yeah. They'll make an assumption that based on so many people clicking on it, that there's a higher than average likelihood that person's going to come back and buy it at some point, and they'll count it as such.
They can tell. This is what all the cookie stuff is all about. So if you see an ad on YouTube, they're especially Google ads. Google is freaking great about this. Yeah. Facebook less so, because of the Cambridge Analytica stuff and whatnot. You can't hyper target as much as you used to be able to.
Yeah.
But Google's still really good. In a general kind of sort of broad sense, but because Google and Facebook have their fingers into so many different places, if you watch that ad, there's weights and balances and stuff in the behind the scenes, but you don't even have to click on it. Even if you skip it, those 3 seconds, those 5 seconds, that's enough. That's all they need.
Yeah, that's still considered a light impression. So they have like an impression if you watch the whole ad, and those all bill at different rates.
Right. And behind the scenes, you can see how many, so that'll tell you how many people saw the ad, how many of those people watched it for the 5 seconds and skipped it, how many people watched the whole thing. And they'll tell you like, oh, we served an unskippable version of your ad to this many people. We've served a skippable version of this ad to this many people. These many people actually watched the whole thing. These many people clicked on it. These many people, and then you can break that down into where they came from. Did they directly come to the video that saw this from a Google search, from your subscriber list, from the sidebar thing, the recent whatever the stuff. Yeah, I can't recall what they call
them sponsored or whatever, sponsored ads.
Yeah, the ones that they serve to you, the ones that they want you to watch next and stuff. There's a lot of interesting data, and from there, even if you don't, like, this is why you get weird, like, oh, me and my buddy were talking about toothpaste, and now I'm getting all these Crest ads. That's a whole nother topic too.
Yeah, that is part of it.
First off, they're not listening. They don't have to. Okay, it's a combination of a lot of different sources of data to make it seem that way.
No, you can select that. Because I have a Google AdSense account, and you can literally go in there and say, I want to target people between this age of this sex that like these categories of things and search for these specific things. You can even put in search phrases.
Code.
Yeah. Oh, you can. No shit. It lets you put. You can literally go to Google Maps and draw a freaking line.
Oh, that's the best actually, because then you can target like, oh, I have a restaurant. I don't want to serve my ad to people in Chicago. I only want to serve my ad to people within 20 miles of my restaurant. And so you can do a range from this location or man, it's really interesting. I like it. I think it's something very fascinating how to target ads and stuff.
When used properly, it can actually be a convenience thing, even though I do believe it's a little bit predatory, but it is a convenience thing. I mean, but when it's misused, oh boy, the amount of data that's available to these attackers to target you, like it's like a con man sizing up somebody on the street. All this digital information that's available through AdSense allows you to basically specifically look for people that you think are most likely to fall for your scam.
Yeah. Oh, like, sure.
Yeah, you can literally go in there and be like, I'm looking for people over 60 years old, hardcore, Republican in Texas, and I'm going to go ahead and make a scam where I try to like give people money for like buying me guns or something like that, or some gun buyback scam or something. And you can target those people, and those are people that when that pops up, I mean, they're in a certain particular mental state and they know that. And so you get a way higher click-through rate. And your ads are not showing up to people that would narc them out, like people that would be like, oh, this is a scam, I'm going to report it. And so if you play your cards right and you configure this stuff right, you can actually like squeeze things through, hit just your demographic without too much overshoot.
I've seen
it's pretty wild
tests where even now, even after like the iOS changes, after the Cambridge Analytica changes and stuff, where researchers have targeted one person, and the options aren't necessarily that like detailed. Like you can't. It used to be you could dial it so fine that you could. On Facebook, you could target an ad to people who had this job title for this company.
Yep. Like, yeah, because Google actually does crawl lots of databases, and one of them's LinkedIn.
Put that in your bio. It's right there. Yeah. It's right there in your bio.
No, but even LinkedIn.
PC builder. Yeah.
LinkedIn. They'll crawl it, because if you go to Google and you do a search for somebody, on the first page, if you do a search for a proper name, if they have a LinkedIn profile, it's on the first page of Google. And there's a reason for that. It's because Google ranks it really, really high, because they think people that are searching for people are looking for their LinkedIns because they want to know if they can hire them or something like that. And then the second most searched result that comes up is background checks. People trying to research people, and those show up. Google crawls all those databases, and the only databases that they don't crawl are the ones that actually have the meta tag on them that say do not crawl. Like by law, they have to respect that if you put a certain HTML tag on your website, it means that they're not allowed to crawl anything on that page. But the problem is a lot of these places, they'll only put the do not crawl thing on the entry point to the page, and then Google will crawl Reddit and go around that to all the direct pages on the site and still index them. So there's a lot of trickery and scumbaggery that goes on in this business. There really is.
It all depends on what your intent really.
Well, we know what their intent is. Their intent is to sell data. I mean, at the end of the day, that's how Google makes money. That's how Facebook makes money. That's why Twitter is free. That's why TikTok's free. Why we're here on YouTube and it's free to upload. Like, how are they able to afford to host this video and multicast it to 277 live viewers right now? How are they able to send out I think I'm up to like 150 million views or something for my channel? Like, how do they do that when I'm not paying them anything? And not only that, they're even paying me, right? Because there's so much fat on there that they can take a chunk of that and throw it my way and make it profitable so that me and other people will continue to make content. So information is really valuable. It's like the new gold rush, right? And these bots, so going back to these bots here on YouTube, the reason YouTube could easily annihilate these bots, easily. And what I mean by that is they can. Yeah, I even went and created a thing that did it.
The trouble is they swoop up real stuff too. It can be difficult to tell the difference. When Twitter tried to automate banning Nazis and swooped up a bunch of Republican congressmen and stuff.
No, but here's where it gets interesting. I'm not talking about direct matching. Direct matching never works. If you just have a database where you just put a bunch of phrases in it and you match it and you remove it, that'll never work.
Not necessarily that.
What you do is you look for patterns that can't happen naturally, that bots, it's really difficult to get a bot to stop doing. Like, for instance, one of the patterns is look at all the comments that are coming into the system and see which comments, the longer they are, the more sophisticated the match is. But you don't want to match on a single word like cool or awesome. But if you see the same phrase that's 7 or 8 words long in the exact same order, in the exact same casing, and across 30 different accounts in the last 10 minutes, you can immediately identify that as a bot. Like with 0% failure, because there's nobody that's going to write the exact same phrase exactly across 20 different accounts within that tiny time frame.
Right.
So in that case, you have a high degree of probability. Now, let's say you don't even ban based on that. Let's say that you just flag the account for monitoring, and then you see if it continues to have that activity. And if it continues to have that activity, then you do the final ban so that you're 100% sure. This is stuff that they possess. They can already do this. They've already demonstrated that they can do this across existing accounts that are just being dicks going and cut and pasting to everybody's comments, right? They already removed those. Why don't they remove the bots? The reason they don't remove the bots is because these bot accounts, every time they tried to remove them, and they have in the past, I even have a buddy at Google told me they had an effort where they went through, they did this regular expressions matching thing where it went through and it found these bots with like 92% accuracy, and it would wipe them off the face of the earth, just remove the accounts. And they said that it dropped their revenue so much, their click-through rate on their advertisers, they had so many ads and not enough video views to put them on, that they were like, wow, we are in a shitty position. We cannot block these bots because these bots are responsible for so much revenue that's coming into the platform. It's the same reason why they didn't ban. Remember back when all the child inappropriate CP was on YouTube and Adpocalypse 2.0? Do you really think that YouTube, with all the investment they didn't notice that they had multiple 15 million hit videos on their platform that were basically CP? No, they knew. They just didn't index them. They intentionally didn't index them so that you had to type very specific search terms to get to them. But they knew 15,000 monetizable views because these were monetized videos. They were running ads. As a matter of fact, that's what caused Adpocalypse. Is they're like, wow, our Crest toothpaste ad is running on some CP video. Like, that's not okay. Oops. And look how fast YouTube was able to go through and eradicate that. Yeah. Like within literally days, YouTube went through and like they already had the system online. They just chose not to use it because so many views were coming in for that trash and it was creating so much revenue that they decided to just turn a blind eye and be like, oh, we're just going to act like it didn't happen. Like, because every time we try to fix this shit, it hurts us financially. So the only way to get YouTube to move, and I've realized this, the only way to get YouTube to get rid of these bots is to show the advertisers how much money they're potentially losing through these false ad campaigns, which again, that's going to be hard to do because Aux even said, like, even the advertisers themselves, they might be getting screwed out of some ad budget by ads being fed to bots. But at the end of the day, it's elevating these people's ads to places they would never be, which means that they're having a high click-through rate on people that their ads would never reach in the first place for the budget that they put forward. So it's kind of like win-win for everybody. They've balanced this thing like a cryptocurrency where it's like, it's like completely balanced. And so if you take out the bots, it screws that. If you tell that, but I still think that if the advertisers knew, if the average large advertiser knew that most of their ads were just being shown to a black window that a bot is pulling up on a botnet, and there's no engagement there, and it's just falsifying their numbers and falsifying their marketing, I do believe that they would actually step in and be like, okay, YouTube, enough. We would rather our views go to real people and not get consumed by bots. And we don't like that the platform is we're receiving so much hate for advertising on these really terrible videos because the bots are pulling eyes there by artificially inflating it when normally the public would just downvote it into oblivion and it would disappear. So it's a hard problem to solve. I'm not sitting here trying to say that I know exactly how to solve the problem. I'm just saying that I played around with some napkin math, and it's not difficult for a company that has the most sophisticated search engine in the world, right? That has full control over machine and AI learning down to analyzing images and indexing metadata off of pixels. You're really going to tell me that this company can't go through and use some kind of analytical algorithm to look at the comment and determine it's a bot when it's like, hey, go to Instagram, unhack now, emoji, dot. It's like, come on.
If I can tell right off the bat, like some of these are like just super obvious. Come on. Like, why did this even get flagged for my review? Like, this is dumb.
And the other thing too, is you'd think, okay, just delete the bot accounts. Just the ones that get reported, just delete them. Everybody reports these things constantly and they get deleted constantly. The problem is there are so many orphaned accounts on YouTube, and I could not believe this. I would say that as many as 50% of the accounts on YouTube are just dead.
Oh, probably.
Just people that don't even
haven't logged in a year, sort of thing.
Shit, some of them, yeah. Like I saw some comments from bots on an account that had, the last time they posted a comment was 2012. So that's how long this account's been sitting dormant. So what you have is these bot networks out there that are basically doing brute force password hacks on every account on YouTube every day of every night. And they're looking for accounts that don't have two-factor authentication and have simple passwords like my cat or God or bad. Because remember, in 2012, passwords didn't have to be sophisticated.
It's got to be at least X long with one number or whatever, you know.
Now it does. Still. Back then it didn't. And as long as you still have your old password and you weren't forced to change it, because you never logged in, they'll let you do the change right as you log in for the first time.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, if you that makes sense. Yeah, you'd have to, but you'd think that you'd still have to, like, if you had like a dead account, say you had like a dead account, old password before the X, 8 characters with a capital and a number.
Yep.
You'd think that, okay, you crack it and it's my cat, and then it pops up and says, hey, you need to change your password. We've sent you an email.
Yeah.
Go click on that link. That would stop a lot of it. But if your email's compromised as well, then
but here's the thing. I'm
going to
be the process,
but it's probably not. It's going to be, here, change your password, 3 lines, old password, new password, confirm, and then
Ox, I'm about to blow your mind. Are you ready to have your mind blown, my friend?
Do it.
80% of people use the same password on every website. This is something that it was worse in the past. It's getting better. But hold on. So here's what they do. They hit YouTube until they get one of the old passwords, and then it says, oh, you need to change your password. So the bot already knows that in the script that that's a high possibility. So when it sees that, it goes down a logic path that says, go to Gmail, try to log in using the same account name and the same password. And when it does, look for the password reset mail. If it's successful, go ahead and click that, change the password, take over the account, and it can all be automated. It's a path that has nothing dynamic about it. It's predictable, which means automation is very simple. Predictable paths are very easy to automate. So it's very easy to do an and/or condition, even in auto hotkey, to say, if a window pops up that indicates that I'm logged in, then go do this. If a window pops up that indicates it wants me to change my password, then go down this script and run this script to go through that process. So it's not difficult to create bots that can do that, but they're working. They're taking over tens of thousands of accounts, probably hundreds of thousands of accounts on YouTube, basically rebranding them with an image of a woman or something like that from Google stock images. Oh, look at the wiener dog. So they're rebranding with the image. They'll change the name to something that they believe will be more reputable, or something that, depending on, they usually don't keep the original name of the account because they don't want people clicking on it and like going back through the history. They'll also delete a lot of the videos. I've noticed that the bots will delete videos off of the channel once they get them. So they'll take if somebody has home videos on something, they take it off because they don't want somebody going back and looking at it and going, oh, the last video this person uploaded was 10 years ago. So there's all these things these scripts do to basically groom these accounts, and they can either brute force it through Google and get in that way, or what they can do is just go to these sites with hacked databases from Have You Been Pwned or whatever. They'll go look at that and they'll take the username and password. They'll run it through. I found a script on GitHub that will go to like 100 different sites and try the same login credentials.
Oh, gee.
This is a Python script you can just download from GitHub. So somebody just goes and grabs these huge lists of usernames and passwords out of these breaches that happen, and then they just run it through the script one by one. Spawn up 1,000 threads one by one and go try every username and every combination on these different sites, and 90% of the time they fucking end up getting into something. And it's crazy how easy it is to build a bot network. Like, everybody thinks it's this complex mechanism, and it's like creating new accounts and answering CAPTCHA. Now there is that side of it. There is you actually can defeat CAPTCHA v3 using machine learning. There's actually several services that offer this for like $200 a month, where they will get by that. They'll use their automation. If the automation fails, then a human will step in and actually solve it for you as a part of your automation process. So you can create the accounts, but that's the expensive way to do it. The cheap way to do it is just to go camp on the dark web, look for new posts with new dumps from database breaches, go through all the usernames and passwords as fast as possible, try them on every single site. Once you're in, have the script change the password to lock everybody else out, and then add it to a list of accounts you now control. And then they can take that list, either sell it to somebody else. Here's a list of accounts that are known good that we have secured, so the person can't go reset the password and get back in because you commandeered the email. And the other thing they can do too is they'll just use it. They'll go get all those accounts, then they'll pass it off to their automation, which goes through those accounts and posts all this stuff on YouTube. So the process actually isn't as sophisticated as people would think. It's actually quite easy, and that's why you see so many idiots doing it that are like, they go through all the effort. Yeah, they exactly, the script kiddies. They create, you know, they go through all this effort to hack an account, and then they leave a message that's like, this guy unhack Instagram 100% guarantee now today, no questions asked, you know, carrot, happy emoji. You know, it's like,
that's so weird.
It's like, dude, you went through all that effort and you created a message that every single person is going to look at and be like, yeah, you are not Amanda from Detroit. Okay. It's like, you're just not, you know, you're some guy and some, you know, either Pakistan or Indian call center that's being paid, you know, $1 a day to basically go and harass people out of their life savings. And you're the one masterminding these messages. So all I'm going to say is that YouTube is not going to do anything about this until we highlight it. So what I'm hoping to do is through this, and I'm also going to do a real video that I released that does this too, where I basically just say, hey, if you're watching this video, you probably got your Instagram account hacked, and I'm going to tell you why you're going to get screwed by somebody, and you're lucky you saw this video first, because I want to lead all the bots there, and I want to encourage everybody watching the video to engage with the bots down below so that the bots actually think that they have a lot of targets that they can engage. Because if you respond to the bot, it'll put you on a list, and somebody will go, oh, somebody's actually inquiring about our services. We need to go engage them. So what I want to do is I want to create a video where I get tens of thousands of people that go over to Instagram and mass DM these people, these bots, because every time you DM the bot, they're getting a human being to respond to you because they think that they got you. And I want to just flood every single one of these channels so that their profitability just goes down into the toilet and we all have a good laugh. That's my goal. That's what I'm aiming for. Hey, I want to thank some of the people that have been supporting the show today. Thank you, Eric G. I appreciate the $20, my man. He said, hey guys, I'm going to watch while I'm doing some chores today. Just wanted to show my support. We appreciate that. It's nice that you're actually home and not driving your truck today. Miss Liz, thank you for the 10 Canadian dollars and the 3 hearts. That's 1.5 hearts each. We love that. Nice. Richard Gagnon, thank you for becoming a member of the channel. He said, the YouTube personnel probably don't pay attention because they are too busy going through the monetized reviews on videos they incorrectly demonetize. Probably, actually. That's actually pretty funny because it's true. Richard, also thank you for the $5 super chat. He said, what about the new malware exploits using affiliate links to infect people? Do you think this will cause YouTube to be proactive against this threat? No, they don't care. No. They don't care. However, I will say that I did have a video. Okay, just to show that they're at least trying in some respect. I did have a video that got flagged, and I was like, "Why did the video got flagged?" Because you get an email. So I click on the email. I go into my dashboard. This is a while ago, a couple months ago, and it says your video got flagged because it had a link in the video description that didn't lead to what it said it did. So apparently that's like something you can report.
Sure.
So they flagged my video because what happened was I was redirecting to a site that had a free utility. The guy lost the domain went and got camped. So it just says, oh, to buy this domain, go to so-and-so. And so somebody clicked on that trying to get the tool, and they were like, fuck this guy, he's trying to scam me or whatever. So they went and reported me, and sure enough, YouTube did actually strike me for that. So I mean, it was easy to get removed. I obviously just appealed it and put in the text that, the link used to go where it was supposed to. The site went down, and they were like, oh, okay, cool. And they just pulled the strike. They always do. But still, it just shows that they actually did click on the link and notice it didn't go where it was supposed to. So they were like, oh, okay, this is legit. So they do actually look at stuff sometimes. Robert settles. Oh, and to address the malware thing. Oh, this is a big problem with the botnets too. This is probably the primary biggest tool for the botnets. Is if you don't want to go out and just find accounts that you can manipulate and use, the best thing to do is just to just go through and affect people, right? To put a bot in the background. Yeah. So the best way to do that, and on a matter of fact, GitHub doesn't even do anything about this. I went on GitHub and found projects that clearly had malware built into them in the source code. You can actually go look at the source code, and there was clearly malware in there that was doing stuff that they were not describing. Yeah. And I reported it, and GitHub's like, sorry, this doesn't violate any of our rules because the code is right there and anybody can click on it and look at it. But how many people are going to look at the code? How many people are just going to download the binary and run it? Because usually on these projects, there's a binary you can download for people that don't know how to build the code. So malware is pretty, proliferated throughout. That's why I always say never, ever, ever download any tool from like sites like Softpedia or Major Geeks or Mega. Never download the tool from there, because what people do is something called poisoning. Mm-hmm. And what poisoning is say you're looking for WinRAR or 7-zip or something. If you go search on Bing or Google, the first result that you get is rarely the actual tool. It's usually a promoted tweet to go download 7-zip, and it redirects you to some site that's like free 7-zip now .tr. And you click on it and you download it, and when you run it, it pops up and it'll say, oh, this is signed by some bogus signer, right? That's like, you don't even recognize. So you click on it and you say, okay, install. Well, what it does is it calls the WinZip installer. So they have it embedded in their compressed exe. They have it decompress the WinZip, and so it installs WinZip, so you think you got what you want, or WinRAR. it installs that, but then it runs a secondary process in the background that creates another Windows station, another account, and plants a bunch of services on it that are now being used to send like Nigerian spam mails and to relay people through like VPNs and VPSs. So and this is really common. This is an incredibly common tactic that people use, and it works. It works. I'll even be honest. I did it years ago as an experiment. All I did was create a piece of code. This is back when I was heavily coding and I was doing all kinds of stuff. I created that spiderweb tool I told you guys about. So I created a tool to find proxies on the internet. It basically just go out and ping every port 8080 looking for SOCKS 5 and SOCKS 4 proxies. And in 24 hours, I found literally 10,000 of them. It was like wow. Literally back then, nobody put passwords on anything. So I was like, man, this is really effective. So I was like, how hard would it be to get people to download something that would just report to me, that would just like report back to me, like what open ports they have, what accounts are on the system and things like that. Just it was a proof of concept. And all I did was put it into a file that was like upgrade RAM or upgrade CPU. I was trying to make it like look completely ridiculous. Right. And I uploaded it to Major Geeks, and Major Geeks actually hosted it on 3 sites. And it got like 350 downloads. And then I started getting massive port connections on my router of these systems sending me this information. And I was like, holy shit. And then after that, I was like, yep, nope, not doing this anymore. Like it felt really, really greasy, right? Because it was like a proof of concept and it worked. So if I could do it in like 20 minutes, just from like an idea off the top of my head, GitHub now has these projects you can just download, compile yourself, put into the payload. It's not hard. It's not hard for you to go and get an existing package. Like you could go and get, say, the Nvidia drivers. That's another thing. I went and downloaded Nvidia drivers from one of these Major Geek sites, and I'm like, why is the one from Major Geeks 834 megabytes, but the one from Nvidia is 830 megabytes? Why is there a 4 megabyte difference when the file name is exactly the same? Now, I didn't download it and dig through it. I just was looking at the file size when I started the download, and I'm like, oh, is that what's going on there? So I was like, okay, I'll bite. I later downloaded it, put it in a VM, opened it up, and all of a sudden, instead of the Nvidia installer opening up, you get like this front end that opens up, like this little graphical front end that's like, oh, do you want to install the latest Nvidia drivers? Click here. And then when you click here, a window pops up and says, oh, Nvidia driver installer needs your permission to continue. Would you like to allow it to? And when you click OK, Nvidia does open the thing, but you open up Task Manager and there's like 30 new processes running on the box. And they're like eating the CPU to like 50%. They're like crypto mining. Somebody put their crypto miner with their crypto mining keys in the payload, re-released it. Now you download it, you install the drivers, and now 50% of your CPU is being used to crypto mine into somebody's wallet, and you don't even know. Unless you open Task Manager and scroll through, you don't see nice hash. So I was like, holy shit. So yeah, people do this all the time. So do not ever, ever, ever run an unsigned, untrusted binary from any source other than the person that releases it, and always check it against a known good checksum. Because if it's not, because you'll think, oh no, this looks legit. It does. I ran it. It did what I thought it would do. Another thing that this is prolific with is pirated movies and pirated games. Especially games. If you download a game and you run it, it's like, oh, cracked by Frozen Crew or whatever. They're installing and opening a bunch of ports and putting a bunch of like redirects so that they can backdoor your system and use it for a bot network to distribute software. So now you become the distributor of the pirated software while you're using without ever knowing it. That's an incredibly common practice, even way back in the day when I was a member of Illuminati and Razor 1911. Way back when I was a teenager, we used these tactics all the time. Install shell accounts and stuff that would establish and install an FTP server under another user running in the background on a shell account, so that once the user downloaded our software and ran it, it would actually allow us to use their computer to create more shell accounts on their ISP. We didn't create, and that shit's just getting worse. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. So don't ever download from a site that you don't know. Don't ever run anything unless you know for 100% fact that it's the real file with the real size and the real checksum, because that's how most people get in. That's how most bots actually get deployed. It's just through poisoning computers through. And the movies. You're like, how could a movie infect my computer? I can tell you. Oh, sure. I'll tell you. So if you've ever opened a movie under Windows Media Player, oh yeah.
Why would you do that?
The WMV format allows you to execute stuff because you're allowed to embed a newer encoder into your video, and you're allowed to do call home for DRM. So like if you bought a movie or whatever in Windows Movie Viewer, it'll actually phone home to a DRM server. The problem is you actually put the DRM server, because remember, different people that create different videos are going to have different DRM servers. So there's a hack where you put in a DRM server where your computer, when you play that video, actually calls home to a server and tells them, oh, I would like to play this video. Will you give me permission to play the video back? But instead of giving you permission to play the video back, it actually sends back a malformed packet and they keep patching this, but people keep getting through over and over again. Sends back a packet that causes Windows Media Player to like buffer overflow and then run something that creates a root, and now they know your IP address. So then it'll connect out through your router, so your firewall doesn't even stop them, and then they connect from the other side, come in, change your firewall rules through SNMP, and now they can come back in and use your computer anytime they want without you knowing. Just from playing a movie, just from playing a pirated movie. That's it. So if you have any movies in your library that open up in Windows Media Player that take like 3 or 4 seconds to start playing, that's exactly what's happening. So it's like, dude, this shit runs deep, man. And people don't know. That's why it's so proliferated. Just like your grandma and your moms or whatever who gets a call and gets scammed out of a Microsoft tech support scam, or the IRS wanting Walmart gift cards. Why does that still work today? The only reason it still works today is literally because we don't take 5 minutes to tell them that this scam is about and is going on, because we think that they're just smart enough to know not to fall for it. And the truth is they're not. They don't know.
It's not. Even otherwise reasonable folk are like, oh man, Apple called me or something. I'm like, no, they did not. No one is going to call you without like warning you first, in a way. Like, especially big tech company, Facebook isn't going to call you.
Right.
You know,
Google's not calling you. The funniest thing I ever heard was when my grandma told me, I mean, this almost sounds a little bit racist, and it kind of is, but my grandma literally told me, like, usually we say, oh, if you get a call from somebody who can barely speak English, that's a good sign that the company that's not a tech support for U.S. demographic, because even if they were in India, they would hire people that speak fluent English if they're doing English tech support. They do. Microsoft even did that. They made sure that any Indians or anybody they hired in China could speak fluent English, because that was the market in time that they were handling for tech support. So, but my grandma was like exactly the opposite. She's like, oh, I thought he was legit because he had a thick accent and he didn't speak very good English, so I just assumed he was a tech guy. Ha. Like, my grandma literally said that, like, oh, he sounded like he was legit because, you know, he had really broken English or whatever, and I had a hard time understanding him. I'm like, oh my God, we got to stop that stereotype. That stereotype needs to stop dead in its tracks. Just because you have an Indian accent doesn't mean that you're like tech support for Microsoft. No, it's actually the other way around. Like, Microsoft will intentionally hire people because they have to service at different hours of the night. Microsoft has a 24/7 tech support line. So obviously, you know, at 3 a.m., they're going to have a hard time getting Americans on American soil to answer the phone. So they hire people in other countries that are in different time zones, but they make sure that they speak fluent English. So if you get a call from somebody who's like, hello, your computer broke, give $5 Walmart gift card. They're not going to hire that guy for tech support.
There might be an accent. There might be a bit of an accent.
There will always be an accent.
It won't be like chunky, weird. It will be good English.
They have to speak fluent English, otherwise they will not hire them.
Accent might be tough because I've run into that. My lady get a little frustrated. She can't quite get what they're saying. The sentence structure is good and whatnot. Like, it's clear and fluent in that sense. But like, sometimes the accent can be pretty thick and difficult to wade through. But yeah,
see, and that
generally
shouldn't be happening.
Be broken English.
Yeah,
it won't be choppy and weird. Missing conjugate verbs and shit. Like, they won't goof it up that bad if it's legit.
Yeah, because like recently I've talked to a lot of tech support people, and I the only ones that I get that are like super broken English, like where you can tell they barely even speak it and they're just reading it off of some translation on the screen. I can't understand hardly anything they're saying. Like, but the ones that call that have like, even a thick Indian accent, they're still speaking with good sentence structure and they're still making sense. And better yet, they can understand what I'm saying. Yep. So they try not to. I'm not saying it's the exception and the rule here. I'm just saying that most companies, including Microsoft, will hire people that speak fluent English because it doesn't do them any good to have a tech support team that can't communicate with the demographic that they're contacting.
Right.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, you wouldn't hire tech support out of Mexico that speak only Spanish to call non-Spanish speaking customers in the United States. You might hire somebody who speaks Spanish as a primary language, English as a secondary, but speaks them both well to service both the Spanish and English customers. But you're not going to hire somebody who can barely speak a language to be the tech support. Unless you're a company that's like intentionally trying to make it hard for people and intentionally trying to have mistakes. So if you're a company like a cell provider, because we all know they're evil as hell, they'd probably do shit like that. But Microsoft, no. Microsoft was good about that, dude. Richard, thank you for another $5. Robert Settles, thank you for the $5. Richard Gagon throwing another $5, making it $10 today. He's put towards our cause. He said, if anybody in here doesn't have 2FA on their account, that needs to happen immediately. Don't use text auth, use auth app or physical tokens. 100% agree.
Yep.
100% agree. If you do not have two-factor authentication enabled on everything, especially your email is sacred though, because your email is the portal to reset your password everywhere else. And the first thing bots do, I shit you not, I've watched it with my own eyes. You can download a bot. I'm not going to tell you which one because I'm not trying to like enable people here, but there is a bot that you can download on GitHub right now. It requires a little bit of modification to build because it doesn't, obviously it didn't want to just building for anybody. But if you run this thing, what it'll do is you feed it the username and password for a Gmail account. It will log into that Gmail account. It will index all of the mails looking for every other account you've ever created an account that got a welcome message. Yeah. And then what it does is it takes that and then it goes to that account, tries the same username and password. If it doesn't work, it issues a forgot password reset. It then waits for the mail to show up in the box, opens the mail, gets the link, opens the link, does the password reset back and forth, and then takes over the account. So if they get your email, a script within 5 minutes can take over every other account that you've ever created that has password recovery through that email address. Script, 5 minutes. That's it. 5 minutes, it could take over 100 accounts that you own to every other service. That's why your Gmail, if you do not have two-factor authentication, it is pure just dumb luck that you have not been hacked yet. So please do that. Like if I can do anything for you guys. What's that?
I just have a good password. You don't know.
No, it doesn't matter if you have a good password because if it leaks, if it leaks, if somehow you install a piece of malware that keylogs you and sends that off, your good password doesn't do no good. If I trick you. Like actually, this is a great story. So my friend, we'll call him Kevin because that's his name. So my friend Kevin that I grew up with, actually the guy who taught me how to program on computers. He's the guy in my life story that taught me how to program BASIC on the Apple IIe back in grade school and got me started on this path of not eating glue and drywall and being, a programmer at Microsoft. So I got him good back in the day. So this is back in the modem days, like dial up, right? So we used to dial up to this local BBS. I think it was called The Real World in Kitsap County. And they had a file. So you'd go into the file area and you could download like, new shareware games, and you could download like mod music and S3Ms and ITs and everything. Probably younger than 90% of the people in here, or older than 90% of the people in here. But anyways, what I did one day is my friend Kevin, he was actually at the time, he was my mentor. So he was, more adept at programming than I was. So he told me that there's no way that I could hack his computer. He would, we used to do that all the time, like bullshit, like, oh, you can hack my computer, blah, blah, blah. My modem won't pick up. And even if it did, blah, 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 I do this and you can't hack past telex or whatever. And I'm like, okay. So I went and wrote a program in C++, and it was, I called it a crack for what was it? It was some audio program that we were using back in the day. He couldn't find a crack for it on the BBS. And so I created the crack for it and I uploaded it to the BBS, and it was literally just a C++ program that just ran, and all it did is it just had one line of text when you ran it. Or no, it popped up a dialogue. It popped up a Windows message box that just said, error crack failed. That's it. That's all it did. But what it also did in doing the error crack fail is it went and shared out all of his folders on his desktop through telex, so that every time he called up to my modem and we were playing Doom, when we did the connection, we connect like on a Doom game, I could actually drop out using something called Desk View, which allowed me to multitask. And I could actually open up another thing, sniff the COM port, and send commands on the back end to get his folder structure. And I could use Zmodem to download shit off his computer.
Ha.
So all you had to do was run this. It basically embedded something called a terminate and stay resident process, which is basically like a DOS version of a service. And it would all it would do is whenever you made a connection, didn't matter. It could be playing Doom. It could be connecting to me through a BBS, because I had a BBS at the time that he'd dial up to. Didn't matter how he connected. I could actually drop out into this extra thing, and I could literally just intercept and embed COM traffic on COM2 to his modem. And then on the other side, the TSR program was listening and snipping it out before it got to the program, so it wouldn't corrupt the feed that was going to it caused stutters and shit like that, but we always had stutters on stuff. Right. But you could embed this, and what it did is it acted like this little middleman that would just piggyback information back and forth on the modem while stripping it out before it got to Doom or before it got to telex.
Jeez.
So that he wouldn't see it on the screen. And so I had that on his computer for a while, and I started messing with him. I started messing with him and calling him on the phone and being like, hey man, that's some really crazy porn you got there, bro. Like dude, folder. And he's like, oh, whatever, dude. And I was like, oh yeah, C:\\/ this. And he's like, oh my God. He's like, what, dude, what? Like, dude, were you on my computer when you were over here next? I was like, no, man, I can see it right now. And he was connected, and all of a sudden he disconnected, because we have 2 lines. We usually talk on a voice line when we're on a data line. So he hangs up the data line. He's like, what did you do? And I explained the whole thing to him. I was like, dude, I uploaded a crack I knew you were looking for, because you asked me if you had it. The best part about it is that file, I didn't even think about it when I uploaded it, because I was trying to honeypot him. It was downloaded by like 30 people in a month. But I didn't know who any of them were, and I never had any modem connections to any of these people, so I couldn't exploit my own backdoor that I created. And the source code was never published, so nobody knew that backdoor really existed. But there was probably 30 other people that had like this backdoor sitting on their computer as a TSR every time they booted the damn thing up. And it never got used or never got exploited or anything like that. But I was like, man, you could do some deadly shit with this stuff. Like, honeypotting people and getting them to run stuff is actually easier than you think. It really is. Hey, Leviathan Prim, thank you for the $5. Said hello, nerds. Hey, hello to you. Devlin42 throwing €5 €5 at our face. Thank you for that beep boop. And Richard, again, if you guys don't have 2-factor, seriously, like, even stop watching right now, go set up 2-factor and come back. Because, dude, it's a ticking time bomb. If you do not have 2-factor, it is just a matter of time. Doesn't matter if your password could literally be a LastPass hash that's 35 letters long. It does not matter. If somebody honeypots your computer, somebody intercepts unencrypted traffic, somebody lures you to their website to think it's the real thing, phishing, right? They pull you in, and then they get you to type stuff into text fields and stuff, and then they store it and say, oh, sorry, you typed in the wrong password. That's another way they get your username and password from like your mom and dad and your aunt, is they'll send a text message on Facebook that looks like it comes from a Facebook account. They just create an account and call it like Facebook support. And then it sends you, and then they make it the Facebook logo, and they'll send a message to you saying, oh, your account may have been compromised. You need to change your password. And then what they'll do is they'll have a link, and when you click on it, it takes it to their website. JavaScript changes the URL so it still says Facebook up above, but it'll have a broken certificate. But most parents and shit don't know how to look for that, right? But it'll say it's Facebook, and then it'll look like the Facebook login page, and it'll say type in your old password. And so they type in their old password, and then they hit enter, and it's like, oh, you typed in your old password wrong. But no, you typed it in right. It just went into a database, a SQL database, and then it just makes it look like the page is broken. You just give up and say, oh, I'll do it later. And now they've got your username and password. It's not rocket science. There's a million different ways to get somebody's username and password. And so a lot of these script kiddies, they don't have to have knowledge. Like, everybody thinks, oh, these guys are hacker groups with all this knowledge and they're really smart doing these exploits. Nothing I've described requires any level of proficiency. All you're doing is creating like simple scripts and stuff, or using other people's scripts that they uploaded and tricking people into running them. That's it.
That's the thing. Yeah. And
that's not hard to do. That is not hard to do. Like, honestly, even indirectly, if somebody knows that's coming, use an intermediate third party. That's all I did with Kevin. Like, there's no way I could get Kevin to download any executable for me, because he knew I was trying to hack his computer. So there's no way I would get him to like dial up to my modem and let Z modem something from me without virus scanning it or something like that. But because he downloaded stuff from the same BBS I did, by putting it into the BBS's file system and him just searching for it and it popping up, he's like, I found it on my own. Cool. Download it. He had no idea I was the one that authored that and created it. Like, it's just, you know, and so that shit happens all the time. So don't download stuff from Mega. Don't download stuff from Major Geeks. Any of these sites, it's not worth it. And another thing, oh God, this is the other thing that you guys have probably seen too. If you download from a site and it uses a loader, you're fucked. You've already been owned. So what I mean by that is, if you download something from like, I think Major Geeks does this now. If I'm wrong, I'm mistaken. It might be somebody else, but you download a file, and it looks like it's like Nvidia drivers. When you run it, it opens up a Major Geeks UI that gives you like a list of servers to like install the driver from, or it'll open up a thing that says, oh, we'd like to install, Honey browser plugin or something like that. And it's selected by default. And then when you click it, then it runs the installer for the thing that you actually downloaded. That's what they're doing, is they're literally just bootstrapping it and putting themselves as the first program that runs. And then they can get you to like sign up for services. They can get you to go watch ads. They can get you to like, I downloaded one file where it made me go to YouTube and watch an ad. And then as soon as the ad was done playing, then the next button shows up. You click next, and then it launches the installer.
Huh.
And then if you decompress the exe, because it's just a zip, an exe zip, where it's basically self-decompressing. If you decompress the file using WinZip, it has two files inside of it. It's the Major Geeks loader, and then the file that should be running.
Jeez.
So just keep in mind, when you see stuff like that pops up, it's like, that's not intended. When you download drivers and shit like that, it shouldn't be like opening up UIs and saying that it needs to install stuff, or you need to watch ads and stuff like that for you to actually get to running the driver. Like, that's a bad sign. And usually once that's happened, you've already been exploited. Because if they can run that exe on your system to present that and make you watch an ad, what's stopping them from spawning a thread in the background to run a bunch of code to fucking exploit and install a backdoor? What's stopping them from putting something into the run folder or putting something into the run registry key? What's stopping them from bootstrapping a service on the system so that when that service starts up, it kicks them and starts them up too? I mean, there's a million ways to get an executable to start, and it doesn't have to be administrative level. People are like, oh, it'll pop up and say you have to run this as administrator. No, if I'm not doing any non-administrator things, if all I'm doing is key logging you and sending it over the internet, those are things I'm allowed to do. Those are public APIs that don't require a huge level of access, so... Just be scared, people. Be a little more scared. People are like, oh, fear mongering. No, it is. You should be scared because I've witnessed all these things doing, and I'm capable. Me personally am capable. Everything I just said, I can do. Everything. Like, not trying to fucking rattle my saber here, but I'm just saying I wouldn't because I don't want to go to jail. And it's all like massive felonies now. It wasn't back in the day, but now it's all massive felonies. But I'm just saying it's not beyond the scope of most people that are malicious. And you don't have to know how to code, because if you don't know how to code, you just go to GitHub and find somebody else's, abomination that works. Yeah. You go, and if it's not GitHub, you go somewhere else, and GitHub will host scams. Keep in mind the BitClout source code to one of the biggest crypto scams ever is still public on GitHub. And Microsoft actually reported back to me that they don't violate any of their TOS and that they have every right to be there. Think about that for a second. Something that stole celebrity identities, something that sold a fake crypto, pump and dumped it, lied about it being decentralized. The entire project as it exists on GitHub lies about what they uploaded. Like the project description does not match what's actually in the code. And yet GitHub still defends them and keeps them. So they make no mistake, man.
Some people, I mean, really.
Drives me nuts, man. All right, couple more here. Leviathan Prim again. Thank you for that $5 for the nerds. Renee S. Thank you for the 50 DKKs. I believe that's the Danish kroners.
It is.
Said, finally, yes, those are good, man. I like the kroners.
It's like a little, oh no, I'm thinking a cruller, the fucking donut.
That's what I thought too, dude. Seriously, when I was reading it, we both have the same thing. I guess we both want a donut. Fine. Renee said, finally able to catch a stream live. It's my birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday. He's turning the big 42. Man, I turned the big 42 and let's see how many days we got. 30th. So I've got 8 days. Wow. No, 7 days. Yeah, 7 days, man. I'm gonna be 42. Holy crap, man. I'm old. I am old. Shadow Fox, thank you for the $2 super chat. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Jacques Olzon said, why are you only doing live streams nowadays? I haven't felt like making videos in a long time. I enjoy live streaming. It's something easy that I can do. It's something that if I'm not feeling good, I can walk away from. Video production is much, much more labor intensive. So like with the stuff on my back and everything, it's what?
It's way harder.
It's way harder. It's way hard. That's the short answer is it's way harder, and I'm not at a point in my life where I can make regular content, and I don't want to just like upload something and get everybody going and then disappear again. So I want to make sure that when I come back, it's like for good for a good long time. Yeah. So, but we are getting there. Hey, I do got good news on my back. Remember, I've been having severe back problems, and like more so than usual. Like I already have bad back problems that make it impossible for me to like mow my lawn or wash my car, but I had another problem. After I got over the ear infection, I had to take antibiotics, prednisone, all this shit. Ended up having like a weird thing happen with my sciatic nerve where it just permanently was pinched and I couldn't walk. I couldn't roll over in bed very well. I needed help to get places. It went on for like 2 weeks. I went in and got $500 worth of shots into my piriformis muscle to try to simmer it down. And that was really painful, but nothing happened. I was like, shit, did I permanently hurt it this time? Like usually it gets better after like 4 or 5 days. And it just kept on getting worse and worse and worse. Well, luckily yesterday I woke up. And I got up out of bed and I stood and I was like, wait a second. Like normally that would take me 5 minutes. And I got on my feet. So I walked around a little bit and I was like, yeah, it's still kind of sore and painful. And it feels like somebody punched the shit out of my back. But I can walk around and it's not giving me this like stabby pain and my leg isn't just giving out anymore. So I'm like, ooh.
Okay, cool.
So I think the shots are working and I think I'm starting to get some of my mobility back, which means I'll be able to start playing some Beat Saber again and stuff and hopefully getting a little more healthier. Hey, Joey, thank you for that $10. You said, I remember writing programs on the Apple IIe and running a BBS. It was like 30 years ago. The good old days. I guess we're old now. We definitely are old now. By the way, I do have an Apple IIe sitting in my garage right now that I bought like 10 years ago that I still have never opened. The guy literally could have filled the box with sand and I wouldn't know. The reason I bought it is that's the first computer I learned how to program. The Apple IIe. Kevin, remember Kevin, the guy that I hacked his computer? By the way, he was pretty pissed off about that. He wasn't very understanding. It took a lot to convince. He literally reinstalled his computer because he didn't trust me when I told him how to remove it. So yeah, he was pretty sore at me for a while, so I promised never to do that to him ever again. But he was the one that actually taught me how to program on the Apple IIe. I was in special education in the first grade, and then going into second grade, they wanted to hold me back. I mean, imagine being held back in the first grade. You got to be like pretty down there. And so going into the second grade, they put me in this accelerated learning program for special ed, which was they paired me off with a really smart kid who needs college credit. And that was Kevin. That's when I met him. And so I liked computers because I liked pushing the buttons. And so he was a really great teacher and he worked me through it. And long story short, after 1 year, I was already typing faster than he was at like 90 words per minute or something like that. And I wrote my first program, which was like 5,000 lines long. That was a text-based adventure game. And the school was like, oh my God, this kid has an aptitude for a computer. You better get him a computer. So my grandparents went all in, got me a computer from Sears that was like, 45% interest on a loan. And it was supposed to be a Mac, but they got me a PC. They couldn't take it back. So I went down that path. If they had got the Apple, I would have been working for Steve Jobs. Like I wouldn't have been working for literally. That's the only reason I worked for Microsoft was because my family literally got me a PC. And then I had to learn the slight nuance changes between Quick Basic and GW Basic so that I could program on the PC and make my programs portable back and forth. And it was actually a really cool learning experience. And you can watch it in my life story. I did an hour-long video talking about my life story, regs to riches, and then back to regs again, apparently. That part's not in the video, but telling everybody how I went from a kid that basically was like sniffing glue and doing drywall with his pops to actually being, a top 5% contributor to Microsoft's dev team, highly decorated for 15 years. And now I make YouTube videos. Man, the world is a strange place, Aux.
It's very, very
strange place. Hey, you think you can take over for a minute while I go take a piss? This Monster Energy drink I'm not supposed to be drinking is making my bladder itch. Good. All right, be right back. Gotta go dump off the kids at the pool.
Yeah. Let's see here. Andrew H., what do you think of Remember for 30 Days Cookie? What do you think of Password Manager, Master Passwords? I mean, Remember for 30 days, I guess. I mean, you just end up having to put your password back in. And I feel like that's fine for your personal computer. Like the one in your home, right? I guess. But I don't know, man. It's a lot of it comes down to like how do I guess just good practice, right? Good practice, being smart, being cautious of a lot of it, Password Manager, Master Passwords. I don't know how otherwise you would do it. You have to have a key to get into the vault of whatever it is you're trying to hide. So either a crazy ass master password or you have one of those little physical keys. That seems to be the only other way to do it. I was back in K, wasn't the youngest. And that's pretty, Psycho Nutcase. Yeah, that's pretty common where depending on like when you were born, like in the year, like if you're born after a certain point in the year, they will make you wait to the next school year, even if you're like technically supposed to be in that grade, start with kindergarten at 5 or whatever, right? But sometimes they make you wait. Does chiropractors work for you? I have found good success with chiropractors. Yeah. Hey, what's up, Burley and Justin Kielberg? What up? Is there a way to use a SATA 2 or 3 hard drive on a system that uses IDE? Probably. I'm sure there's a SATA to IDE adapter. It'd be a cable or something. Yeah. No, chiropractic theory is BS, but the alignments fix it when I couldn't walk. Yeah. No, hey man, I don't know why people shit on chiropractic stuff. It works. I feel like it's not a solution on its own. Like you do need, like if you get to a point where you got to go to the chiropractor, like there is an underlying cause. And again, I am not a medical professional, so don't fucking take this as gospel. But like, it has to be in combination with like physical therapy, in my opinion. Otherwise, you're just going back and back and back and back. And honestly, you should, in my opinion, you should have a chiropractor whose goal is that they don't want to see you anymore. You know what I mean? Like if that's how my chiropractor was. Like, hey, every time I'd go to see them, they're like, hey, how are you feeling? Like, is it getting better? Blah, blah, blah. And like, okay, we'll do like one more. And if you're cool with that, then you don't have to come back. Yeah. Few chiros have given the whole profession a bad name by doing super crap like tuning up toddlers and other nonsense. Yeah, I don't know enough about that kind of stuff. Why can I see thumbnails when looking at photos on my PC I use to be able to? What is stopping this? No idea. You may have to change the view. There's like a little slider thing, right? Chiropractor was good, but it does not take much education to get a degree. If you use a chiropractor, it's best say you're a doctor of osteopathy. Why can't? Yeah, no, why can't? Yeah, who knows, man? There's could be a million different reasons. Physical therapist is better. Only chiropractor is not ideal. Again, it's a combination sort of thing. I don't think it's a one or the other sort of solution. Got here late. Does he actually talk about getting your account back, or is it a discussion about the bot scamming? The bots. I've been having problems with scanning thumbnails for a file. Yeah, I mean, like, I've had some issues with that in the past where, like, somehow, why isn't the JPEG showing up? When normally they would, or different things. I don't know exactly what it is that makes the preview or the little thumbnails and stuff, and so sometimes it's like can't resolve that. I don't know. Okay, bearded guy, what is the tech sector? Hardware. Particularly PC building and a little bit of tech support. I'm just Cairo. They were really good. Now the one I go to is so old school that it was messing me up. Going, yeah, see, and it's a case by case basis, man. You gotta listen to yourself. Did streamers benefit anything from the Twitch hack to improve their results in the algorithm? Probably not. Thoughts on new anti-cheat solutions that are kernel level? Boo! Don't do that.
Dude. Not only that, that's leeching over to Linux now.
What was that? What was that one that got a lot of? It's still around, but it gets a lot of shit.
I think they kind of backed it off a little, didn't they?
Yeah, Ubisoft I think is known for using it quite a bit.
Valorant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the game, I think.
Yeah, but it had it. What was the name of the anti-cheat system? It had a very specific name, I remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's like
everybody's doing it. It's actually one of the biggest reasons that you can't go to Linux.
Light headache. Can't think straight.
I know that Linux is what was it? De novo. That's it.
Yeah, yep. De novo. Yeah, easy. Oh, yeah. So easy anti-cheat. That's the one that they changed. Like I think they changed COD. They changed COD over to easy anti-cheat. I don't know, man. It works, doesn't it? Like I don't know.
Well, the nice thing is at least Microsoft did one thing that's going to prevent them from being too damning, and that is in Windows 11 they're doing the virtualized security model, which slows your computer down. But by using the virtualized security model, even the anti-cheat that's running in the kernel should have a healthy level of shields around it if it decides to go too renegade or too rogue. So, yeah. I mean, it's not perfect. Vanguard, that was another one. I remember Vanguard was another one people were talking about a lot. No, the anti-cheat stuff is a big deal because it's one of the things that's preventing a lot of games from being ported in a multiplayer format to Linux. Because right now Linux has Proton, which works really well now. Apparently, like the vast majority of the Steam library of PC games that run on Windows even 10 with DX12 seem to work now. And work really well, like way better than they did even 2 years ago. So they've done a lot of work to make that clean. I'm sure a lot of that goes to Valve too, pushing that effort. Sure. But the biggest problem is the anti-cheat is based on the Windows kernel, and you can't emulate with Wine and with Proton. You're actually emulating the API, so the anti-cheat doesn't work because the anti-cheat has to not be emulated; it has to be running in the kernel. So you can't emulate running in the Windows kernel. So unfortunately, until they figure out how to create an anti-cheat in Linux, which they have been making progress with the anti-cheat in Linux, until they figure out how to run a Linux version of anti-cheat in the Linux kernel, like built into the Linux kernel or loaded as a kernel module on boot. You're not going to be able to play those games in multiplayer. You might be able to play them single player, but not multiplayer. Because everybody would just go to Linux and cheat. What good is an anti-cheat if everybody can just satisfy the requirements by spinning up a virtualized Linux box, go in and edit the metadata so it doesn't say that it's a virtual machine, which you can do that now, by the way. Like somebody pointed out that if you run software on a VM, it can find out it's in a VM. Windows will narc on you. Windows will actually have a registry key that says you are in a VM. So that way when you run programs and you're in a VM, the program can protect itself from being debugged. So, but there's a way around that. And that is just don't use Hyper-V, don't use VMware, just use like Dbox or one of the open source virtualization suites, and you can actually go in and replace the BIOS with the physical BIOS of your computer, the motherboard ID, the chipset ID. You can basically type all that in so that when it queries the BIOS, it gives it back a mirror of what your real system is. Wow. And then it doesn't know it's a virtualized machine because it bases that on what the hardware reports back. So you can totally fool the VM into thinking that it's a 100% real machine. And apparently I wouldn't be surprised if people like Kitboga and stuff aren't doing this now. When they're messing with scammers, because the scammers know now when they log in, they'll even run a little tool that'll tell them if they're under a VM. They'll open the registry and just go right to the key that says whether it's a VM. They'll open up WinInfo32 and it'll say right there whether it's a VM. Like that was giving him way too much. So now he created a VM that basically looks, for all intents and purposes, real.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one thing about anything. It doesn't matter what it is. It's like if you create a solution, somebody else will inevitably get around it. They'll find a workaround.
Yeah.
Shadow Fox, thank you for the $2 super chat. I appreciate that. Another shout out for Renee turning 42 tomorrow from Denmark. Joey Fouts, thank you for that $10, man. I appreciate it. And yeah, I remember running BBSs years ago. If you guys want to do some sleuthing on my past, I ran a bulletin board system called the Federation, the Outhouse, and Phantom's Lair. Those were the 3 BBSs that I owned myself when I was a kid between the ages of like, I want to say 10 and 13, maybe 14. Nope, 15, because never mind. I got my learner's permit when I stopped doing that. So I ran those 3 bulletin board systems, and then there was another bulletin board system in Silverdale, Washington called Bloodbath that I was a co-sysop on. So yeah, if you guys want to dig into the past and go through those old BBS list archives and stuff, yeah, those were my bulletin board systems. And they all had a 360 area code, except for Bloodbath, which I think had a 895, I want to say, something like that. I don't even remember. I don't remember the phone numbers. I don't. Would you think I would? I do remember the phone number for my BBS because I remember. Actually, no, I don't. I don't even remember what my number was because I remember my home number, but I didn't run the BBS off the home number. I ran it off of a party line that had a different number. And I never memorized that phone number because when the hell are you going to call your own computer? You know, it wasn't like back in the day where you'd like remote in and have a remote desktop and shit. Let's see. Do we got any other? Oh, Andrew, thank you for the $5 Canadian. We appreciate that support, man, more than you know. He said, what do you think of Remember? Business. Yeah, seriously. He said, what do you think of the Remember for 30 days cookie? Do you think of Password Manager's master passwords? Wait, what do you think of Password Manager's master passwords?
Yeah, like, do you have an opinion?
Like, wait, what do you mean master passwords? Like
LastPass. LastPass, you'll have one main password to get into LastPass, and then LastPass has all of your other passwords inside of it.
Oh, it's the problem is that
so you need a master password to get into LastPass.
So there's a couple things. First off, you have 2-factor authentication. Even if they do get the password, it's incredibly hard to get past that without the two-factor authentication in place. The other thing is even if they do get the hash right, like they guess your password, because there's multiple different passwords that'll hash the same. LastPass only stores the hash, and that hash from that word isn't the decryption key for the passwords that they store. It's your actual password. So let me try to explain this, and it's really confusing. So when you type in your password to LastPass, that password that you're typing in gets hashed client side and sent to them, and the hash that they derive from that password doesn't decrypt the data that's in their database. It just tells them which data is yours. Then they send that encrypted data to you, and then you use a different hashing algorithm on that password to get the actual key that decrypts the information on your PC. So LastPass doesn't know your passwords. If somebody went into LastPass and stole their databases and cracked their databases and got the passwords to get into everything,
it'd just be a big collection of hash.
Yep. Just a bunch of hashes. So the only way for them to decrypt your password is if they have that actual password and they can defeat the 2-factor authentication. And then in that case, of course, they'd be able to log in and get all your other passwords and stuff. So you need to make sure that you have 2-factor authentication on any password site like that, and that the password that you're using is very unique and random to that site, and store it in a safe place. But yeah, if it gets compromised, that's a big deal. And that's why you want 2-factor authentication on everything, is because even if my LastPass was compromised, I have 2-factor on everything, which means I would just see a ton of shit coming in from bots on my phone saying, oh, 2-factor failed, 2-factor failed, 2-factor failed. And then I'd be able to go and reset the passwords on all those and basically just nuke the account and start over. So, but as far as I know, LastPass hasn't been compromised yet. And Actually, have any of the password managers successfully been compromised and decrypted, because I think most of them use the same thing.
I thought I remember something about LastPass getting breached somehow, but like you said, it wasn't like a big deal.
Yeah, because they got the data, but the data couldn't be decrypted. So, and that's what I love about password managers. Like, because I used to worry about that too. I'm like, man, I'm literally uploading my list of passwords to a site, but you're not. You're uploading an encrypted list that you encrypted client side, and only when it's downloaded client side. They don't keep your password. Like when you type your password in to log into LastPass, all it's doing is hashing and then logging you in, and then sending you the encrypted data in client, and your client's decrypting it using your actual real password that they don't store.
It looks like LastPass has had one security incident in 2015. No encrypted vault data was compromised. Protected the encrypted vault data of our users. Blah blah blah. Took steps to detect that requirement. Blah blah blah. Not ideal. And then it goes on to explain basically what you just did. The master password is hashed. 100,100 rounds, it says, of PBKDF2 hashing, and then there's an authentication, and there's like the first 3 steps are like local, and then there's an authentication hash plus 1 round that then is sent server side, where the authentication key and additional hashing goes to LastPass. There's a bunch of encryption and back and forth and blah 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 blah.
Keep in mind, LastPass has to be the single most targeted site to hack on the entire internet, because it'd be a treasure trove of passwords and accounts to literally everything on the freaking internet, right? So the fact that they haven't been successful, even when they have been breached, no actual usable or tangible data was released, as a testament to the method that they're using. Now, again, if they get your real password and they get control of your cell phone, they're going to be able to log in and get that stuff, because it's going to decrypt it. So there is a downside to using a password manager and having everything centralized in one location, especially if it's like a hostage situation and somebody put a gun to your head and said, oh, unlock this now and log into it, and then they can get all your password information. But to be fair, they could also put a gun against your head and just log into each individual service and be like, give me your password. And if it didn't work, they'd threaten to shoot you, and you'd eventually just give them the right password to everything. Or they just get the password to your email. Like, you might think, oh, LastPass is the single point of failure. No, your email is, because your email can be used to reset the passwords to everything else in your LastPass from one single location. So the way it works in the security world with when you're talking about the castle, right? The castle walls are your Gmail. Or not just Gmail, but whatever mail you use is the email that you input for the accounts and login information on all the other sites. Yeah. That is your single point of failure. So if you're really hardcore in this, and honestly, there's some sites that I do this for, but if you're really hardcore, but it makes it a fucking nightmare to manage, is you create a different email account that you never use. You never send an email from it or anything. It's just literally just random letters and numbers at gmail.com. Just create a random account, and then you use that random account as your login for a site, do the password, do 2-factor, and only do reset through that email and do factor on that 2-factor on that email also. Because if you do that and somebody compromises one of your email, they can only reset the passwords for the accounts that are associated with that central email. So if you have a different email associated with each account on each site, the best they can do by breaching one of your emails is reset the password to one service. And it might even be difficult for them to find that relationship, because if you make sure that you use a different login name than your actual email address, there's nothing to link the two together. Their bot gets cut off and doesn't know where to search. So there are ways that you can enhance your security, but remember, it comes down to convenience versus security. So the more secure you are, the less convenient it's going to be by default. But realistically, the best way for you to go is 2-factor authentication using a key from an authenticator that resets the key every minute or whatever. Like YubiKey is a good one to use too. That's a good way to do it. The second best way, SMS, as long as you're on a platform that does not send the SMS through the internet. So like T-Mobile, I think AT&T switched after they got hacked. They all route SMS through their 4G, encrypted through their 4G LTE network. So the same network that they do the encrypted voice communication over. So the SMS that gets sent to you isn't visibly viewable on the internet. Like, you can't go to if you can go to your cell provider and log in and see the list of your SMS messages from your device, that's bad. Like, don't use SMS for 2-factor. But if you can't do that, then SMS for 2-factor is actually pretty reliable. But you always run the risk of somebody cloning your smart card. That's increasingly difficult. Remember, this happened to Boogie and Linus and a bunch of guys years ago. And so they stepped up protections at these companies to now require, if you want to clone a SIN, you have to physically come into the location and you have to give them some form of identification. So like federal identification, at least here in the US, because they had too many people that were just walking in and social engineering the person behind the counter and being like, oh my God, my phone stopped working. And they just put a broken SIM in there. Like they'd snap a SIM and stick it in there. Be like, oh, it doesn't work. And they're like, oh, your SIM's broken. Here, let's give you, okay, what's your account information? And then they already doxed you. So they know your address, phone number, name. They give it to the person. The person's like, do you have an ID? And you're like, oh no, I'm sorry. I left it in the car. I mean, I can walk like 3 miles back to my car and get it. Like, and you're holding up the line behind you and everything. Oh no, we believe you. We believe you are who you are. Okay. And they successfully took the control of two-factor authentication from like Linus, Boogie, and a bunch of other people by doing that, by physically going into stores and pretending to be them. So like me, for instance, I have something called VIP protection, where any service that I open, doesn't matter if it's my power, doesn't matter if it's my phone or my cable provider, I tell them that I'm a high risk public celebrity. I know it's like, you feel bad even saying it because like it's not true, but I say that I'm like the super high risk celebrity, and then they put me into the VIP program, which means they take a picture of me, they put it into the database, and anybody that wants to change, and it makes it a pain in the ass because I can't just call up and say, oh, I'd like to change my internet plan, or oh, I'd like to cancel my power, or I have to physically go to each one of these locations in person with a federal ID, and my picture has to match the picture that I sent them when I opened the account on the computer. And if it doesn't, they just call the cops. So, and that's happened a couple of times. So twice, where my picture being in the computer saved me because somebody went into the store presenting an ID as me, but it clearly didn't match the picture that was in the computer. So they called the police and they fled. So in one case, they even kept the phone too and sent it back to me because it was a stolen phone. They were trying to unlock its stolen status because they stole it from me on eBay, and they literally went into the store pretending to be me to release the lockout. Wow. Like, oh, I got my phone back or whatever. And they panicked when they called the police and they left the phone on the counter. I think the person still had it. Like, I think the employee had it in their hand. And so the person, when they called the cops, they freaked out and they ran. So, and the police contacted me about that, and they're like, hey, what's your address? We'll send your phone back to you. And I was like, cool. And I got my phone back after like it took like 8 months for somebody to like go in and do this. So I'm guessing the guy that ripped me off, he realized that I reported it as stolen. So then he sat on it for a while, and then he probably just sold it to somebody else who was unethical as shit and told him, oh, it's locked, so I'll sell it to you cheap. And then he was like, oh, I make fake IDs. I can just make an ID and go in the store and fix that. It's like the level of effort that went into like circumventing a $600 purchase on eBay is just mind boggling. Like, these people literally could have used their skills, Aux. They could have used their skills to like become penetration testers that get paid 6 figures a year to break into buildings. But instead they try to like scam a $600 phone off of eBay that takes like 8 months and 2 people. Like literally it was like Ocean's 11 for like a $600 payoff, and then in the end they lost the phone and had nothing. Yeah. It's so funny, dude. Hey, we got Harry Hero in the house with a £5 super chat. We do love those pounds, man.
Thanks, yeah. He just says 20.
Thank you. He's at £5 and he said 20. Well, £5 probably is $20.
You put the wrong
dude.
Number in the wrong. You put the 20 in the wrong place.
Yeah, you got it backwards. You're supposed to put the 20 in the pounds and the 5 down below. Yeah. It's all right. Just next time. Just
because then it would have been a high 5, and then now it's just like, what am I supposed to do with a 2 and a 0?
Oh my God, you're terrible, AuxxZillary. We love Harry Hero.
Is this a metric thing? Is that what it is?
It must be. No. What he was doing is he was shaming us because £5 is $20 US probably.
Just about
because of the exchange rates. Mage Miner, thank you for the 5.
It says right there. Tried to send 20. See, I was right.
Oh no shit. Oh, that's hilarious.
I don't know if he's just goofing, but
he's goofing. It's all right. £5 is basically $20. Harry Hero. It's actually probably like $25 now with the exchange rate. I mean, damn. Hey, Mage Miner, thank you for the $5.
Bitcoin. What are you guys doing sending us like this national money stuff?
I know. Do we need to just do we need to create
send me some sheep. Send me some sheep.
Actually, shit, I'll do that if you want. Ox, do you want me just to create a Bitcoin? Like, I can create a brand new Bitcoin wallet through Bittrex, like it's standalone wallet, so that nothing else goes into it, and I'll just put it in the video description of this. And then anything that goes into that wallet, I'll just pay you literally in cryptocurrency by transferring it to your wallet.
We should have a Tech Talk wallet. That'd be great.
That'd be so funny. Just Tech Talk wallet. We just let it accrue.
That'd be funny.
We could even make a little plugin on the thing that shows how many Bitcoins are in the wallet, like have it overlaid on the screen. That'd so that it just pulls it every so often. Because I've been wanting to do automation. I've been itching to program a lot lately. I've been trolling around GitHub.
That'd be fun.
I already found a broken Python script on GitHub that trolls Pornhub. So I downloaded it and actually fixed it so it works now. It never worked. The dude uploaded it, didn't put any documentation. Just the name of the script was like something like site crawler or something. And I opened up the Python and it was Pornhub was one of the sites inside of it. It didn't work. He never got it working. It was a couple of simple mistakes that I fixed, and I ran it, and it actually does work now. So sorry,
Nice.
sorry, Pornhub. If you see an IP address downloading like a terabyte of porn like every 3 days, that's not me. I would never do such a thing. Andrew H, thank you for the $2 Canadian. He said that actually explains a lot. I use Dashlane. I'm pretty sure Dashlane uses a similar technique, honestly. Mage Miner's giving us some insight here. Thank you for the $5. Said LastPass has a way to decrypt your data, or else you wouldn't be able to reset your password without being logged in. That's actually not true. So the way that you're resetting your password is you're changing the hash on the client side and you're sending them the new hash, and they know that you have the right password because you sent them the hash of the old password, which is what they store. So there's no reason they don't have to.
They have a good explanation of their zero knowledge security model.
Yeah, they at no point on their side actually have a way to decrypt your data, because that hash is derivative of your real password, and it happens all client side. So unless
it helps. So the picture is really cool, but then the paragraph might help for folk to understand.
Oh, there's a link right there. There you go. Thank you, sir. Let me open that up.
The picture makes sense because a lot of it is done client side on your machine, right? Yeah. So you either have multi-factor authentication surrounding your master password or not, whatever.
Yeah, so all they have is the authentication key plus the additional hashing. At no point does your master password ever leave your box. Even if you do a password change, all you're doing is authenticating your password to them with a hash that says that you have permission to change the password, and then you're sending them the new hash of your master password, which they store. But remember that hash that they're storing for the decryption is also changed based on the physical wording of your password. That never gets sent.
And it looks like the vault, even the vault itself. So it's I guess it's encrypted on their side, but the actual the encryption is done client side, and then the encrypted vault is sent to LastPass, and then can be returned to you decrypted and opened on client side. So like your master password maybe, right? Like
your vault is just the unencrypted vault that's stored locally cached when you hit.
You have to have the recovery keys, right? There's like 5 or something, six numbers or something they give you or something like that.
Well, LastPass can actually. So the vault is basically the block of data that contains all your passwords. It's basically just a block of encrypted text, basically. And what they do is they store that. When you connect to LastPass and you log in, they send you the vault. The vault gets downloaded, and you're indexing and using the vault locally. Only does it go to the encrypted vault when there's an update or something that it needs to get that's refreshed or changed. So realistically, every time you go to LastPass and log in, you are downloading your entire vault. Is a giant encrypted blurb, and you're decrypting the vault client side using your actual password, a hash of your actual password. You never send your password to them. Like if you look at the JavaScript that runs on LastPass when you go to the website or through the app, you're actually sending your password to the JavaScript. The JavaScript is creating a hash from that password that's specific for the encryption on the client side, but it's not the full encryption. The private key is generated with a different hashing algorithm. So all you're doing is telling them, this is an encrypted block of data. Here's the hash that proves that I'm the person that owns this encrypted block of data, just like you would in a blockchain. And then what you're doing is you're just saying, I have permission to pull that encrypted block of data, but you are the only person that has the actual key that you type in that decrypts it. That's it. Nowhere. If they could hack, somebody could go in and take over LastPass, take all their servers, decrypt all the data that they can using whatever keys that LastPass has, and they will never, ever see your actual password. Never. And I think that's pretty cool. I think it's a pretty ironclad model. The cool thing is it translates to crypto really well. Like this model, they could literally just encrypt the vault into the blockchain as a task. Like it'd be really expensive, but you could literally take your encrypted vault, encrypt it and put it into the blockchain like Ethereum. And then no matter where you were in the world, you could always just sync the Ethereum blockchain, pull your encrypted vault and decrypt it client side using a key that you never published and nobody else has except for you. And you'd be the only one to see the passwords and stuff that were stored in that blockchain, but they'd be there forever. And to edit them, you'd have to keep adding more and more data. You obviously can't go in and edit data that's already there. So it'd be very expensive, but you could literally create LastPass on the blockchain. And to be honest, they probably do something like that also on the back end that you don't even know. Like a lot of these companies will back up really mission critical data. Like if they're afraid an attacker is going to take it out and it'll ruin them, they'll heavily encrypt the data and put it in the blockchain in a way that nobody ever fucking knows, like who put it there or why they put it there. Like I'll tell you this, I'll tell you guys a little secret I know. Okay. I can't tell you the name of the company, But I specifically worked with a company a long time ago that today, a very important company. This is a company right up there with Microsoft, right up there with you probably won't guess what it is, but they actually store all of their customers' encryption keys for actual certificate verification of XEs and sites and everything. VeriSign level certification. They store that all in the blockchain. It is all 100% stored in Ethereum. The Ethereum blockchain stores all of it. And they still have on-site databases that cache it so that it's faster to do the recall when they're doing the validation with their servers, but they store an entire copy every day, multiple times a day. They amend the blockchain to add more and more of this encryption data. They do it in giant blocks, so it's most cost effective. But the reason that they do it is because if something happens, like they lose their data center or their backups get taken out or a hacker comes in and wipes everything or ransomwares them, nobody can touch the data that's in the blockchain.
Yeah.
And they can recall that at any time. But here's the scary thing about it is if the decryption key ever was to leak, the actual decryption, and there's multiple, like they don't use one decryption key, it's a whole bunch of decryption keys. But if those decryption keys that are controlled by one person at the company, if that person dies, I don't know who the fuck gets it after that. But if those decryption keys ever got taken, and again, they'd have to reverse engineer and figure out the structure of the data and how it's being stored in the blockchain and what the wallet addresses were. But they could theoretically go in there and decrypt all that data, and they would be able to sign anything as everybody that ever worked with them. So it would just completely break down the whole certification of the world. Like VeriSign would just be crippled.
I think I want to get one of those physical security keys.
Yeah, the Ubi keys are badass, and there's actually ones that are better than UbiKey now, I've heard.
Well, I think the Google one, Titan, is supposed to be pretty good too.
They probably ripped off UbiKey.
They have like if I remember right, they make all that's like how you log into computers at Google and stuff. You have to have your Google key.
Yeah, there was a period of time at Microsoft where we had to have rolling encryption. I remember we all had to update our smart cards.
Yeah.
Because our smart card had a time algorithm on it where it'd roll and generate a new key every 15 seconds or something like that.
I used to have a handful of the code generators from LexisNexis. So every minute this little key fob would display a new 6 or 8 digit number. And that's how you used to. I'm sure they've obviously, because I got these from an e-waste thing.